Nice.
Barry, I want to hear your boot scoot and boogie before the end of today. Do all your exes live in Texas? I'm just saying, your exes have to live in Texas.
Okay, thank you very much. We're at the city council meeting, regular council meeting of June the 8th, 2026. And I'll call the meeting to order at 4:30. You have the items in front of you. Are there any items to add or delete from the agenda? Okay, seeing none, it's been moved by Councillor Nesbitt that the agenda be adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Now, the next thing I'll get into is I want to thank all the organizations within the city of Brooks that held pancake breakfasts. To all the volunteers, to everybody who came out, they were fantastic. The parade was phenomenal. I don't know, I heard there was 100 and some odd floats in the parade, and there were people lined up and down every street. So I want to thank the citizens of Brooks for coming out to the parade, and it was just fabulous. So the whole weekend was spectacular. There was pancake breakfast, there was barbecues, there was the parade. The rodeo was again a phenomenal event. I went out there Friday night, and that was just superb. And Saturday was just as great. I saw tons and tons of vehicles out there, so I know there was an awful lot of people. The Silver Sage board was very pleased with how many people were showing up to the rodeo, so that is a very positive result for the rodeo as well. So then I'll move on after those thank yous. Councillor Phillipson.
I'm wondering if you also want to thank the organizations that put on Senior Week.
Well, no, there's also the Senior Week. There are so many things going on within the city. It was just, again, a phenomenal time. I ended up going to what did I go to on Monday? I went to some function with them on Monday. Barbecue, that's what it was. And then on Wednesday I was at the movie theater. So I was kind of running all over the place. I forget which all the events that I was at, but I was at an awful lot of different events. And all these groups are to be thanked for what went on within the city. And the other day I was talking with the Premier, and I was telling her what happened out at the rodeo grounds. And I said the Silver Sage had some events going on. I said the motocross had some events going on, and there was something going on at the CRA. And that place was just humming. And that's what we can expect, I think, when we see the Silver Sage do some transformations over the next few years. So anyways, you've got the minutes from the regular council meeting of May the 25th before you. Are there any thing missing or omitted? Nothing to add? No? Okay, seeing none, it's been moved by Councillor Falkenberg that the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 25th, 2026 be approved. All those in favor? Carried. No business arising out of the minutes. Correspondence and information. Update on council conferences and/or workshops. Nothing yet? You'll do that next time because it's probably too early to ask you.
I was a little tired, so I'll have that for next time.
Okay, thank you. Any council committee minutes? None? So it's been moved by Councillor Johnson that the following items of correspondence be received as information, council conferences and/or workshops, and the council committee, May 19th, 2026. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to business, we have development permit 24-D-44, an extension request, and that is coming via Bailey Boulay.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. On June 17th, 2024, the city originally approved development permit 24D44, which is a multiple unit residential development in the form of attached housing at 175 and 207 Pleasant Park Road West. Construction didn't commence within 12 months of the original issuance, so the permit was extended by council for 12 months on June 16th, 2025, and that will expire on June 15th, 2026. The lots are zoned direct control, which means that all development permit applications, including extension requests, shall be referred to council to act as the development authority for decision. So the surrounding neighborhood is a mixture of different zonings. There's lots of green space and paved pathways. To the west is privately owned vacant land, which is also zoned direct control. And there's playgrounds, ball diamonds, and the Marshall Drain and West End Park. The intention on these lots is to develop 36 semi-detached units, and in 24 of the units, there will be separate basement dwelling units, which means that the total dwelling units proposed for the lot is 60. The direct control zoning district doesn't have specific requirements for things like setbacks, lot coverage, building height. So we asked the developer in their site plans to follow the requirements of a residential high density zoning district. And then the parking requirements would require that there be 2 stalls per dwelling unit, which would require a total of 120 on-site parking stalls. And the site plan currently shows 92 on-site parking stalls. Although it can't be considered for part of the development permit application, they've also shown that on the street there would be 21 available on-street parking stalls. If we were to compare the proposed setbacks with what would be required in the residential high-density district, they're pretty in line. So the front setback is showing 5.87 meters, whereas the district would require 5. It's showing 2.84 meters in the rear, but the residential high-density district would require 5. And it's showing 2 meters on the sides, and the residential high-density district would typically require 1.5 meters on the side. The rest of the requirements, such as minimum lot dimensions, building height, floor areas, and site coverage, are all within the RHD requirements. But again, because this property is owned direct control, there are really no measurable development requirements, and as such, we wouldn't consider this application to require any variances. The applicant did not commence development within 12 months of the previous extension being granted. However, I think it's important to note that they're now working towards applying for a building permit to initiate construction. The property is currently under sale to a new developer, and I believe that sale has just recently closed this month, and they intend to proceed with the project. Due to the impending expiry of the development permit, an extension is required, as they won't be able to obtain building permits prior to the planned expiry date. The applicant has invested significant time and financial resources in preparing plans to satisfy the conditions as outlined in the original notice of decision. Most recently, they've consolidated the 2 lots, which is a requirement of the original development permit. Sale is well underway, like I've said, and then they've also submitted some amended servicing site plans as well. Typically, when reviewing an extension request for a development permit, things that would be considered are if there's a change in planning policies from when the previous approval was granted to now. That would be things like a change to area structure plans or land use bylaw. It's important to note that there haven't been any changes that would impact this proposed development for our regulations. We would also be considered if significant time has passed but there's been no progress or intention to proceed with the development. I would note that there has been intention to proceed with the development, and I think the sale of the project indicates that there's an intention to proceed with obtaining permits for building. You would also consider whether or not surrounding site contexts have changed. So has there been new adjacent development, or have there been infrastructure changes in the area? I would note that there hasn't been any new adjacent development that would impact this proposal from going forward, as well as there's been no changes to infrastructure that would impact this development going forward. Servicing is something that would be reviewed by our engineers when they've submitted their new plans. So if there had been any significant increases in demand on servicing, that would be something that would be captured prior to a building permit being released. You would also consider whether or not there's been non-compliance with the original development permit or if there's been a misrepresentation. And I would note that there has not been non-compliance or misrepresentation. The developer is actively working with the city to comply with the requirements of the original approval. Before you, you have two decisions. You can grant a one-year extension for the development permit, which would commence June 15th, 2026, and it would expire on June 14th, 2027. This would allow the applicant to obtain a building permit and commence development, or council could deny the extension request for development permit 24D44. The letter to request the extension submitted by the developer does stipulate that although they're requesting a 12-month extension, they believe that they will be able to obtain a building permit within the next 3 months. The 12-month extension request was on the advice of staff. Typically, extension requests would be granted for a 12-month interval, and that just aligns with the requirements of the land use bylaw, which says that development permits are valid for a 12-month period. The recommendation is that council grant a second 12-month extension for development permit 24D44, which would commence June 15th, 2026, and expire on June 14th, 2027. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Johnson?
Two questions, I think. So the first one, I don't think necessarily is a Bailey question. Maybe it's a council thing. Because we had set a precedent, I believe, with Newell Housing in a previous motion in council. That was their second extension, so I'm happy to extend a second extension because we should stay consistent. I just want to confirm that this new owner is planning on doing the same plans and the same expectation as the previous owner. There's no changes just other than ownership.
Yes, I can confirm that this developer will be held to develop exactly as approved by council. If there were to be any changes proposed, it would be treated as a revision to the application, or if they were significant enough, it would be treated as a new application altogether, and it would be brought back to council for their consideration.
Councillor Regner?
For the original application, what was the application fee? What did they pay for a fee?
In 2024, we had residential new build incentives in place, which included a reduction in permit fees, so development permit applications were free.
Councillor Nesbitt?
Thank you. Bailey, Director. I was just going to comment that you answered everything in your overview. Thank you very much. That was very concise, because one thing I was concerned about right off the get-go was, okay, we're having a property come back to the table. Is somebody else looking at it? And now it's been answered that yes, somebody's going through a purchase. So that's excellent. And just to clarify, it's Brooks Housing Society that went through the extension, just for note. Thank you. That's okay. No problem.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, it has been moved by Councillor Phillipson that council grant a second 12-month extension for development permit 24-D-44, commencing June the 15th, 2026, and expiring June 14th, 2027. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you very much. It's been moved by Councillor Regner that council close the meeting to the public for agenda items 7A and B, land matters, as per section 19 of the ATIA at 4:45 p.m. All those in favor? Carried.
I always mess up. Can you just take the director names off? Because I go over there, I can't see that part. And then I realize she's not a director.